Hey guys, welcome back to another video where we are going to look at the collaborative app development feature, which perhaps is the most awaited feature for AgilePoint NX version 9 release. Back in 2015, when we released the new app designer, we realized that even though the app might have files of various types like process model, forms, emails, etc., they were tied together using a common structure, that is the app schema or the form library, which gets shared among all these files. Hence, if two users were allowed to work on the files in parallel within the same app, it would mean that they could override each other's work. This is very different from traditional code-based app development where two forms might be completely different on a website. In a low-code world, most likely within an app, the forms and process are centered around the same schema. Hence, we introduced a concept where if a user was checking out a file, a soft lock was put on all the related files which might get impacted to ensure reliability. This restriction was overcome by using modular development technique where different app designers can work on different modules broken down using separate apps without having any dependency, which is quite common even in traditional development world. This technique worked well for customers, making sure apps are built as per best practices using modular development, and only the app or module which was edited had to be moved to production, hence reducing the testing effort as well. However, as the time progressed, we started seeing more and more demand of being able to collaboratively work on different files in the same app, as even while using the modular approach, apps might span into hundreds of related workflow steps and scores of e-forms which could benefit from multiple designers working in parallel. Starting AgilePoint NX version 9, we are introducing the concept of collaborative development within the same app to cut down app design time significantly. With this, if a user is editing the process model, other users can still edit email templates, CSS, JavaScript, or eForms, enabling a parallel and faster collaborative application development experience. All this comes with strict controls to enable or disable this feature both at a global level or at an individual app level. Lastly, modular app development will still continue to be the best practice due to obvious reasons, that is lesser testing effort and better maintenance, but multiple app designers can now collaboratively work on the same app as well if needed. Let's look at this feature in action. So I'm in my AgilePoint portal right now, and first we are going to look at how to control it at global level. So we are going to go to Settings, App Builder, Common. Under the Settings tab, you are going to see a new section called Collaborative Development. It has two switches: Allow Collaborative Development for Apps. I'm going to turn that on. So as an admin, you can turn that on or off. And the next one would be Notify Primary App Designer. What this switch does is that if I am the primary app designer, I've checked out some files and somebody else is trying to check out the files in the same app, that person becomes a secondary app designer. I should be notified that somebody else has checked out files as well. So the primary app designer would get an email. I'm going to go ahead and click Save to enable this feature. Next, I'm going to navigate to App Builder, All Apps. I've already added a sample app from AgilePoint App Store called Travel Reimbursement. Now I've sorted this based on type, so you can see that there are files of various types available within this app. There's a bunch of task forms, a process model, a library, JavaScript, few email templates, document repository, data models, access tokens. So as I said, there are files of various kinds within the same application, which can definitely benefit from multiple app designers working within the same app at the same time. So what I'm going to do is, firstly, before I get started, I'm going to click on permissions and see what kind of permissions are there on this particular application. So I'm currently set as an app owner. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add one more user as an app designer so that he can work on in parallel. So I'm going to add test user 2 and click update. Also, what I'm going to do is, this is an existing application. So there is a switch with which I can enable or disable collaborative development. So I'm going to click on it and I'm going to type confirm, click enable. So what this does is it enables collaborative app development. Now the switch has turned to disable. At any point of time, I can disable it as well as an app owner. However, if there are certain files which are in checked out status, it would warn me that it cannot be disabled till you either check in the files or undo check out those files. Now, getting back to the app itself, what I'm going to do is, as a primary app designer, I'm going to start editing the app. So I'm going to take control of the process model. And assuming I start making some changes, I can drag and drop activities, maybe add some notes to the schema. Because I'm primary app designer, I can do all of that. If I go back, you can see two files have been checked out. One is the process model, and another one with the green lock is the data model itself, because I'm the primary app designer. And if I click on any of these files, it tells me checked out by Nishant Srivastava. However, there are certain files which have a blue lock icon, which are the dependent files, which have a soft lock. So if I click on those, you can see it is locked by Nishant, but they are not in a checked out state right now. Now, previously, all you could do is, as a secondary designer, you could view these files in a read-only mode. We'll see how that changes with Agile.NX version 9. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to also check out a form from here as a primary app designer, just to show even two people can work on two different forms in parallel. And I'm going to maybe add a location text box. And go ahead and click save. So I've added a new control. I've altered the schema as well. So what happened in this case is the form got checked out, and along with it, the form library also got checked out in my name. Rest of the files are still in a soft lock status. Now, with that, I'm going to switch to another browser window where I'm logged in as a different user, test user 2. If I go to all apps, I'm seeing only the apps which I have access to. So I'm going to click on travel reimbursement app. And what you see is, if I sort it by type, in this case, you will see that there are 4 files which are checked out by some other user, which is Nishant in this case. That's why it is showing up with the red lock. And there are all these other files which I can take control of. So what I'm going to do is, as a secondary user, I'm going to click on an email template, click edit. It would ask me a question: do you want to open the file in view only mode or edit in collaborative development mode? Previously, the only option you saw was view. Now you have an edit option as well, because I enable collaborative development. I'm going to make a few changes to the content of this email. I'm going to just add a footer over here. Now you can see this file within the same application is checked out now by a different user, whereas this file was checked out by a different user. Similarly, I can even add new files. So I can go and say add a new lookup of type data entity. Let's call it demo. It's a multi-column lookup. And I'll say connect to accounts entity and bring down all the accounts. So as you can see, now the demo lookup is also checked out in the name of test user 2. And I'm also going to check out one form from here. So if you remember, user A, which was Nishant in this case, was working on the travel reimbursement form, and it was checked out by this user. I'm going to check out the other form. Now, when I click on checkout of a form in a collaborative development mode as a secondary app designer, it would show me the standard message that do you want to open the file in a view only mode or edit in collaborative development mode, but it will also show me certain restrictions which are put while working on a form in collaborative development mode. It tells me I cannot add a new form control which would have altered the whole application schema. I cannot promote any changes done locally within my form to the library. I cannot change the mapping of a data source or edit the data grid. So some minor restrictions are there. Click edit. So just to show you those restrictions, if I go in and say try to add a control over here from the control set, it will show me a warning that you cannot do that. Do that one more time so that you can read the warning. It says the action is not allowed in collaborative development mode. Similarly, if I try to push anything to the library, it would tell me this action is also not allowed in a collaborative development mode. However, if I have a bunch of controls which have been added on some other form, or the primary app designer has added some control like I did in the previous form, location control, I can still drag and drop on my form I can even make some local changes as well. I can say this is going to be required. So as you know, the pencil icon shows you that this is a locally saved change. All I can do is make those changes locally. I cannot promote it to the library. But locally, it is absolutely fine to have those changes. I can always go back and click save. I go back. What you'll see is there are certain files with green icon which have been all checked out by test user 2 and certain files which are checked out by Nishant in this case. So overall, multiple users are able to work on the same app in different areas. So there might be a developer who is working on a CSS, there might be somebody who's working on process model, somebody might be working on different forms, somebody might be working on JavaScripts or email templates as well to speed up the whole application development. Now, once I'm ready, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, as a secondary user, say, okay, I'm ready to check in my file. So I selected the application, click check in. I'm going to go ahead and click check in. If I go back to the primary app designer, select the app and say check in, all the changes. Now my app is ready to go and I can click publish in this case. Please note that whenever I publish the app, whoever checks out the next file would become the primary app designer and rest of them would have to work in the collaborative development mode. Now, at any point of time, these two people can obviously talk to each other using the collaboration feature or the comments feature, which we had introduced in Agile.NX version 8. So if the secondary app designer wanted to send a message to the primary app designer, they can always put a message over here and tag that person, and that person would receive an email along with the comments, as well as they will see it in the designer, and they can probably say request to add a couple of controls or make some changes to the library. So they can always do that in a collaborative mode. Now this was the case when I was enabling this feature on an existing app. What about new app? So if I click on app builder, add an app. If I click on process-based apps, you'll see that while creating the app itself, I can specify whether to enable collaborative development or not. If I forget to do that, I can always do it from the menu like I did for the existing application. And the same feature is available for form-based apps as well. You can see a similar checkbox available for form-based apps. Form-based apps have one additional restriction that only one person can work on the list views, and list views are logged out to the primary app designer itself. So with this, we come to the end of this video. As you can see now, multiple app designers can work in parallel on the same application, helping speed up the application development. Thanks a lot for your time.